let's jump into the survival mode here. Let's see the survival Iron Man mode. Let's see if I can't make this go. So yeah, one thing's that you see mentioned is the belly flop move, and is that a very useful tactic kind of for maybe?
I think there are
players?
certain levels which require it. Like,
Yeah.
There's one called the Garbage Masher, which I think is a reference to Star Wars.
Yeah, it's that scene in Star Wars where they're stuck in the garbage masher and the walls are coming in. I don't think we'll get sued for it because it's not like for like a copy. But yeah, there's levels like that where if you don't use the belly flop, it is difficult. So you need some levels are kind of slightly puzzling and that you need to figure out what your approach should be. But yeah, the belly flop is if you see a level where there's a clean passage from the ceiling to the floor, it's a good tactic to use because it will flip all the enemies onto their backs and it will trigger various other things that are going on. You might be in trouble here.
Okay. Okay, this is a. I did not realize this was a limited ammo level. I messed this one up pretty badly. I was just firing all over the place. I should have been paying attention.
Yeah, we that's been tending to happen a bit with the limited ammo.
Hmm.
We might. I mean, we tried to make it as obvious as possible, but I think it's possible. We could probably, do a bit more.
Not obvious enough.
Maybe some kind of dialogue box or something.
But there's an important tip. Make sure you check to see if there's limited ammo. On
Yeah,
the
it's every
level.
5 levels. So the on any of the zones, it's the center level is limited ammo.
Now, with the belly flop, what are kind of? Because I've tried kind of triggering it, and how is there like a sort of like speed you have to be going? Or,
So
like,
you have to
height
get
fall from, or
the top of the screen, like right at the top, to the floor at the bottom, and only the ground floor, not like the platforms.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
okay, yeah, that kind of was able to trigger it there. So yeah, you got like
Yeah, we intentionally didn't
oh, there we go.
didn't say how to do that in the tutorial
Hmm.
because we thought it was like people would discover it, and it would be like a really fun moment for them.
Yeah, it wasn't something that was necessary to the beginning player. It was something that we hoped people would kind of trigger and then try and figure out.
Yeah.
And you kind of, how did I do that? What was that type kind of vibe to it? It's been quite nice on some of the forums. People seem to get it. Like we were worried that we were a little bit too close to the game, and that a lot of the kind of the stuff we put in there and the sort of the more subtle game design we thought we'd managed to squeeze in would kind of go unnoticed. But there's been some people that just really get the game, which is amazing.
Yeah, one of the things as I'm just kind of playing around with it is that when you actually trigger that the belly flop, it doesn't necessarily have to be you go straight from the top to the bottom just in like one shot. I mean, you can actually you can propel yourself downward, or you can you can kind of bounce around a bit. I mean, it's there's a little bit.
Yeah, it's a bit of give.
What's what I'm looking for? Fuzziness, I guess. Maybe not necessarily that, but like I don't know what's the right word. It's not a heavily precise thing, but it's something where there are prerequisites. You have to hit the top, and then you have to hit the bottom, but without hitting anything in the middle. But,
Yeah, pretty much. That intro.
But you can like bounce off the
Yeah,
side.
that was. I mean, we want to keep the game tough and kind of responsive and accurate, but at the same time give it a bit of feel. Like we don't want it to be too meticulous. Like you shouldn't have to come at it's a very narrow angle to do a belly flop or anything like that. But it should be difficult but forgiving, I think, is the.
Yeah, and then it's the kind of thing that once you figure it out, it's like, hey, now you can figure out, okay, how can I use this
So
to
for
my
instance,
advantage?
slowing down the enemy passage, because I mean, like I say, it flips stuff onto its back. So if there's a level where there's a lot of things coming along the ground towards the clock, then it's a way of buying more time for yourself to kind of move around and get crates and do other things like that. I think the baguette's my favourite weapon.
Survival is It is over.
Oh.
That enemy just
man.
that enemy got to me.
I think we're getting a bit of lag on the video screen here.
I was like, oh, he saved it. That's why he's screaming. No.
Sadly, no. I was so close. So close. 139th. You know what? I think I can get better. You know what? Let's give it another shot.
You're gonna
I
get
think I
past
can
the
do
first
better.
world, so once you're on orange, you're good. It's gonna be interesting because we're curious how the high schools are gonna go. I mean,
I've barely looked at them since launch.
yeah. I mean, if it does become very popular, we might need to look at like weekly or daily or something like that. But for the moment, it's just persistent.
Mm.
Yeah,
We were going to have like, 2 other survival modes, but there was so much in maintaining them that they just didn't cut it. I think we might repurpose some of those levels or waves as like an extra level pack at some point.
yeah. So we got quite a few bits and pieces that are still floating around on our hard drives that we can. And also having seen people's response to it again now, and having not I'm not actually really. Most of the levels were finished in the summer, but I've got a head full of new ideas and things like that. So
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see more levels, and maybe even see some of them used as like I said with kind of like the daily, weekly leaderboards. Like kind of have maybe a I don't know, like like level of the week that they have to compete on, kind of like
Yeah.
Spelunky daily challenge, but since the game's not procedurally generated, it's obviously a little harder. But something,
yeah, I mean,
something like that.
I think the difficulty is with mobile is that you have to go through the submissions process. I'm not sure how they do it with Spelunky, but I know I'm working on another.
Yeah, with Spelunky, obviously that's a procedurally generated game, and basically it's I believe it's a level that's based off of just like a certain seed that that does that.
Yeah, so he doesn't need to roll out an update for it. It's just it's managing itself.
Yeah, and I talked to like one developer who's talking about putting a procedural mode in their game, or not a procedural mode, but like a daily mode that's based off of like a certain seed, and but obviously this is not necessarily a procedural game. This is level based one, so yeah, you'd have to kind of build it around
absolutely
levels.
I mean, we did do some procedural level generation on another game called Timmy Bibble's Friendship Club, which we did at a game jam a while back. So it's that kind of stuff is super interesting. If you've got the right mechanics around it, then it's perfect. It's amazing. I think with Toast Time, there was so much tweaking for the levels, because even small things like Terry possibly getting stuck into certain places or certain gaps where he might manage to squeak through and then get trapped on the other side of a platform or something like that. And also frame rate issues on older devices. The collision detection can get a bit wonky. So there's all these kind of things that was just a process of constantly ironing it out and making sure it's just the kind of the core game that remained, not all of the sharp edges.
Not easy.
I guess it's just iterative. It's like constantly kind of going back and refining stuff and giving it some time.
Yeah, it's as much about what not to include as it is about what to include.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to have a game that has sort of too much going on. Look at Flappy Bird. That game became massive because it was such a simple game.
Yeah, and you also find this process where as you're working on it, you start to understand the dynamics of it yourself that much better. I mean, we did change. Certain aspects of the game did change as we were working on it, so that affected the level design in terms of the way the crates and the weapons worked and stuff. But also, you just get more attuned to the way the game works, like what makes a level difficult, what makes a level easy, and the general pacing of the levels as well, from one to the next, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's lots of spreadsheets.
And as you introduce new levels, it's about kind of replicating that. Now that you have these finely tuned levels, is how do you make more of them, I guess.
Mm.
And also with like level packs, it's also how to make something that's.
I think if we
new
were
and
going to do
interesting.
more levels, they wouldn't be really difficult levels. They would have like a new mechanic in them or a new item like in the level, which introduces new challenges as opposed to just being like past the last level.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice to kind of theme them a bit because I think at the moment you get to the last world and it's very definitively the last level. It's like it's not a boss, although we did have boss levels before they got chucked out. But we would want to make sure that any extra level packs we did were interesting and kind of, you know, a little unit in its own right with some new interesting ideas. I mean, there's one of the later levels which is almost like a maze where there's only one enemy and he kind of comes out almost like a timer just running towards the clock, and you have to find your way out of the maze and get to him before the clock runs out.
Mm.
And
It's really cool.
that was one of the last levels we designed, and it suddenly realised how much more there was we could do with it at that point. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, I'm kind of interested as to why, you know, as you said with those boss fights, you know, why exactly. They just weren't a good feel for the game, or what? They would kind of think about it, like they would be an interesting addition, but it'd be kind of I guess hard to maybe fit them in. Was that
Yeah,
maybe what it was?
That's
I
what we
can't
got.
remember. Like we had some designed, and I think the bosses are supposed to get like harder over time, right,
Yeah.
or something. I
makes sense.
honestly can't remember
Yeah.
what the issue was, but
I mean, it was what we were going to do at one point. Is that in the background of pretty much each of the worlds, there's one piece of scenery with a big face on it. So in this case, it's the pyramids, and so the last level, those pyramids would be taken off the background, and they would be the bosses for that world. And it was just a question of trying to design. I think the problem we had was there wasn't enough real estate on the screen, and also, I mean, this was back. We had toxic enemies at one point, where certain enemies, if you touch them, you'd die. Which is obviously just crazy because it's so difficult already. And with the bosses, we could never really figure out whether that should. They took up so much of the screen, and the way that Terry's generally controlled, it's not like a normal kind of shoot 'em up or something like that, where you got that very fine-grained control over where you are. We couldn't get it to work. There was like a windmill one as well, which we designed where the windmill would be spinning, and you'd have to shoot the. I don't know what it's called. Fans off it, I guess. To slow it down, and each time you shot one off, it would slow down further, and that would be blowing enemies towards you, that sort of thing. But it just wasn't as fun as.
it wasn't as fun as the normal levels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a bit like limited ammo levels then.
But they somehow made it in. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like, you know, with those levels, you know, they seem to require, like I said, like the toxic enemies. I can see why those wouldn't work, because those are very precise type thing. In this game, you know, no matter what, there's always
Yeah.
that sort of chaos to it. You know, you have to anything you add would have to kind of embrace
absolutely.
that chaos.
Yeah, I think it's like the most rewarding times I've had playing Toast Time is when you have that sense of controlled chaos where you get coffee time and you get a specific weapon and you kind of gleefully use it to clear all the enemies, and when the dust settles, you've now got like a blank slate again. So you do get these moments where you can't see what the hell's going on, but come the end of it, everything's pristine again. I think with toxic enemies, they looked kind of cool because they had this weird like RGB shift kind of.
Yeah, they sort of glitched like what happens in Coffee Time,
Yeah.
but slightly different. No, I think that was before we had Coffee Time, or we didn't know what effect to use for Coffee Time. We had these glitching enemies with like RGB colors, and we repurposed that for hallucinogenic Coffee Time mode.
Oh man.
Wow, you get all of these weapons.
Yeah. I feel like I've unlocked everything.
Yeah, that's the thing with survival mode is it does do that. I mean, it's kind of we didn't worry about it too much. In fact, we put like a little tip when you lose, suggesting that you do that because it's a good way to kind of balance out the difficulty curve a bit because it's
We also tell people to wash their bodies and take their kids to school.
yeah.
that's important too. You know, you don't
for
want to
sure.
forget about that while you're playing Toast Time. Yeah, I'm 34th in the world,
That's
so
pretty
you know I'm moving on up. Yeah, I'm a super toaster.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
I like how you have the you can see the
Mhm.
customizations for the
You see any pirates in there?
different players.
Oh, there's a bunch. There you go.
There's a property from Android.
oh. All these leaderboards are
Yeah,
actually
so the
are they
survival
cross-platform?
mode has cross-platform, but it's also plugged into Game Center and Google Play's thing. So there's leaderboards for like each zone, each world, but those ones aren't cross-platform. Those are just hooked into Game Center.
Yeah, but like the leaderboard I'm looking at right here, that's actually really cool that it's
Yeah, we
it's
implemented that
cross-platform.
before Google Play stuff and before Game Center stuff.
Yeah. Some dude's got like 31 minutes.
That's probably
Yeah,
possible.
yeah, wow, that's a Doga the Kid TR, they are like
Yeah, that's
they're number one with a bullet. You know, 31 minutes and goes down to
I'm gonna have to check
17.
them.
You know, they've given
teachers.
themselves a real lead here, or they
got some
cheated.
text, like,
You know, one of the two. But, you know, if they did cheat, you know, I applaud their restraint in not making it look
Right,
yeah,
that was-
too outlandish. You know, they could have gone with
Right.
like 99, but no, they went with 31.56.
That's-
You know, it's way up there, but it's possibly possibly they cheated, but
yeah,
it's
we
still
had some of those,
plausible.
and I removed those immediately, and it's like that's more attainable.
yeah, it's bizarre.
They've sort of wizened up to me being a power user.
Yeah, right.